up,
Welcome back,
OG,
ladies and
triple
gentlemen, to another
OG?
episode.
OG, triple.
So today, me and my baby about to react to this clip because it needs a male and female perspective. Let's watch it, then we're gonna come back and talk about it.
Men finding out that they were disposable to their deadbeat fathers has them spiraling out of control right now, and it's very interesting to watch. So this guy made a post that said, "Men, now that you're older, you should talk to your dad and figure out like what the reason was why he wasn't around." And I left a comment and was like, "It's very simple. You were disposable to him, so he left you."
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Now I gotta be Floyd Mayweather because they want to fight me in the comments. The men are so angry about that comment, and maybe it's because I used the word disposable, but that is the word that I wanted to use because that's the right word. A lot of these men are in the comments saying, well, once I got older, I found out that my mom cheated on my dad. Once I got older, I found out my mom used to keep me away from him. Once I got older, I found out my mom was trying to be greedy and get child support. Once I got older, I found out my mom. 9 times out of 10, your mom did nothing at all.
Stop the cap.
Your dad had 24 years to come up with his lie, and you just believed everything that he said. And let's say your mom did do something to him. He felt like she did something wrong to me, so this child has to pay. You had to pay. Is that valid to you? Think about it. Think about it. Is that valid? If he was in your life when you were younger and then him and your mom split, so he left you behind. If your mom got a new man and he said, well, you got a new man, he could take care of the baby instead of me. If he was an in and out parent and your mom said, well, if you're not going to be there physically, you're going to have to be there financially. And she put him on child support and he said, well, since you got me on child support, that's enough. That's enough taking care of the child. I ain't going to take care of him. I'm not going to raise him. If your daddy got 6 kids and he take care of all of them except for you because he don't like your mom. If your mom moved states so that y'all could have a better life and your dad said, well, she took you away from me, son, instead of trying to get to see you for the summer. If he was absent your whole life and then you got into sports and you started doing good and actually making a name for yourself and then he came back around. No matter the story that he gave you for why he couldn't be in your life, the reality is that he just simply didn't want to. And that probably sounds really hard to accept, but it's the truth. Stop looking for reasons to blame your mom for why your daddy wasn't around. He didn't want to be.
All right, y'all, this one was interesting. The comment section in this video was crazy. So let's get into it. 2 people have a child, they break up, they split. Who's to blame? I guess I'm gonna say 8 out of 10, the kid is gonna go with the mother primarily, right? That's just what we see, okay? Not saying that some men don't get their child and raise them, but majority is the women. All right, when that happens, whose fault is it? We are not gonna take away from the fact that women do get bitter. They keep the children from the man. They're mad at the man, wanna try to control the man. They want child support. They want to try to make the man suffer, and with that the child is caught up in the middle. But does that take away any blame from the father?
I mean, me myself, it all depends, as far as how often the father is in his child's life. I've got experiences as far as dealing with my baby mothers, the women that I had children with. I really don't like the baby mama stuff. The first woman that I had a child with, she was in a relationship that I didn't know nothing about. I guess I was a side piece, and she kept my son away from me to the day that he died. My son didn't even know that I was his father, but he went to prison and all that stuff, and that's a whole nother story. But he went to prison, and once he got out, I got in touch with him. He was like about 22, 23 or something like that, and I let him know the real, you know what I'm saying? I let him know the real deal about what happened. It was all this woman's fault. He got another dude, last name, she had another guy thinking he was my son's father and everything, so it was all messed up. She kept him away from me. I even had instances where me and my wife, we seen her out one day. She's still claiming like, yeah, this your son and this and that, but you can't come to his birthday party and
he can't know you his father.
Exactly, right. He can't know you. And I'm like, I'm done with this shit, man. I'm not finna play these games. When he get older or whatever, I'll get back with him and I'll tell him my story. This is one of the situations where, okay, how do I deal with this? You know what I'm saying? Am I wrong for that?
Nope.
For being like, okay, I'll get with you when you get older. I'm gonna have me some more kids, which I did. I had more kids. I got married, but it was something inside of me that said, no, this your child. Regardless on how she acting or whatever, I believe this is your child or whatnot. Once he got older, him being in prison. Right, you could say I stalked him, right. Exactly. And once I let him know, look, I want to get this blood test, you know what I'm saying? You got a problem with it? He's like, no, let's get it. He's like, I want to know too. So, the results came back. He was my son. 3 months after that, he got killed. And I felt like if he knew that I was his father, that wouldn't even happen. Because, again, I got to tell my story so y'all can know the whole story. And you be like, damn, this is a messed up story. But I'm not gonna say it's always the mother's fault, but I'm gonna say eight times out of 10, it is the woman's fault. You know, that's my opinion or whatnot. You might, feel different. You ain't had no experiences like that to be like, no, y'all can't just blame it on the woman and this and that. You exception to the rules.
I mean, I think it's easier to just blame the man for not being there, especially when you're a kid, because all you see is mama. Mama is the one doing everything, struggling to keep a roof over your head, buying your school clothes, etc. Daddy's not there. We all love our father regardless of what, but as we get older, we start to be teenagers, or unless you had a mama who poisoned your mind about your father.
Yeah, but then too, though, women push men away.
They do, and this is why I brought my husband in on this, because if you watch me, you already know I had my father from day one up until now. Thank God my father's still alive. Now, I didn't grow up in a two-parent home. My parents were never married, but we had the classic every other weekend schedule, summer vacations. My father took me out of town. I can call him right now. My father has taught me a lot. He's my hero in a sense, as far as how girls are.
And on my situation, I didn't have my father in my life. So, as far as me just saying, F my kids or whatnot, it wasn't in me. You know what I'm saying? I know how I felt to not have a father, and that shit do not feel good. And if I'm gonna have some kids, then I would never, ever, want them to experience what I experienced, because I'm still affected by it.
And I don't know personally, but I have some scenarios I like to bring up. My aunt was married to her husband in another state. They got divorced. She came back to Michigan, where we are from. The kids from that marriage, every summer, they went to be with their dad in another state. Some men, I think it's a small percentage, just disappear, just ghost. And I'm not saying they ghost just because. It's probably reasons, and it gives them an excuse to wash their hands with it and be like, I'll holler at you when you're grown. But I think that's a very small percentage. My little brother, in his case, I'm going to say his father was to blame, because my mother, she didn't put my father on child support. They were cool. There was no real friction. My dad could pop up at our house, linger around in our house. But with my little brother, his father was not as active, so he was on child support. His father didn't get him, didn't spend time with him. He married another woman and raised that woman's child, and then they will go on to have a child. And to this day, we don't really understand outside of the new wife, because before the wife, his father was active. So these are just different scenarios of people we know, or personal experiences, where it's like, who's really to blame? I think her telling a man, because your father wasn't there, he thinks of you as disposable, is too harsh. You cannot say that. Some men have these kids young, and they can't deal with all that stress. They don't know how to deal with these women.
But then again, too, though, I think, a lot of men, as far as the woman getting a lot of power, her getting the kids, her having, the option to get the kids, the first option to get the kids, they give that power to the woman. So a lot of men feel powerless. Like, I don't have no power to just be like, let me get my son. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking my son. What is it that she's doing that I can't do?
The state empowers the woman, especially
Right.
if you are not married. Because if you're not married, all of that goes on the birth certificate, whatever the name of the child. You have situations where me and my brother had one last name. My little brother had a different last name.
Yeah, but still, though, even if you married, they give that power to the woman. We see it in all these celebrity breakups and divorces and stuff like that. 9 times out of 10, the woman, she get the kids, and the man, he got to pay the alimony.
Yeah, that's true. In America, that's absolutely true, unless the man has money. Unless he has money for a good lawyer and can fight, the woman we see a lot of trifling mamas partying, neglecting their kids, using child support money to do all kind of crazy stuff. Don't get me started on that. But let's talk about the other thing she brought up, cheating. A man telling his son, well, your mama cheated. That's why I'm not around. And then completely, my focus on this is men who completely ghost you from little kid to 18 or 20. Not the inconsistent fathers, because if your father was inconsistent, you still saw him periodically. I'm talking about the men who ghost. I have a cousin who has never met his father.
Wow.
And his mother died. So
I know, we talked about this a lot of times, and women got to be held accountable. You just out here just sleeping with anybody, and you don't know anything about these people. It's like you basically get what you asked for. You got to find out who these people are, who their parents are, you know what I'm saying? You got to find out about their family. It might show some red flags within your family that you be like, nah, wait a minute, I don't want to, have no kids with you or whatnot. So women got to take accountability on who they choose for their baby daddies. And then, as Kevin Samuel say, that your baby daddy is your best, your best choice or your best.
You don't get any higher.
Okay, right. You don't get any higher than your baby daddy. And I believe in that. You know what I'm saying? Because for one, why would you want another man around your kids that's not his? You know, me having kids or whatnot, I wouldn't want another man around my kids, you know, that I got from a woman or whatnot. I mean, it's like basically like nature, you know, the lines, they go off and they, you know, they unalive the cubs to that male that, you know, she's been with. So
I mean, you're right. I think about another cousin I got, and this particular cousin, neither fathers want to be bothered with the kids. One pretty much did the complete ghost from birth to 18, and the other one was like on some once, twice a year, and now is on some ghost stuff. So that does play into the factor of you talking about vetting, women vetting these men. But I don't think that men get women pregnant and just feel like, I don't want to be a part of your life. What did she say? Yeah, you're disposable and I just don't want to be a part of your life. I think life's trials and tribulations and different scenarios come up. Sometimes men have to make a decision. You have women who are abusive, women who mismanage money, women who are toxic, who are on drugs. There's plenty of reasons why men are forced to leave the woman and the child. And you know, and again, you do have that small percentage of men who are selfish and just want to live their life as a single person and don't want that full-time, everyday responsibility of raising a child.
right, exactly.
Lastly, I just want to say that you cannot blame men only. When it comes to who to blame, the blaming game, I think that both parties have to have some blame, but ultimately it's always going to go back to the woman if you don't put your feelings in it because you opened your legs. You did not have to do that. That's how society sees it. It's your fault, woman, because you opened your legs to a man and you didn't know what type of father he was going to be.
Right, and it takes two. You know, it takes two to lay down and have a baby, so it's gonna take two to take care of that baby. Just like my wife said, you know, we can't fault, you know, just the man or whatever. We got to fault the whole party. Mm-hmm. But you know, we do these videos so we can do better. We can, you know, put the magnifying glass on the situation and try to see what we can do better. And
Yep, for our communities.
exactly.
As a community. But this has been another episode. We
What's up,
appreciate y'all
OG,
for
triple
supporting
OG,
us. To the
OG,
next time,
triple,
we'll catch
triple,
y'all in the next video.
OG?
Peace
Come
out.
on, push a button.